Hello, beer tubers, and welcome to another beer review. With me, Peter, the master of hoppers. Today, checking out some more Croatian craft beer, courtesy of Dan in Croatia. So thanks a ton for the beer, Dan. Dan has been kind enough to send me beer from Croatia for a while now, and he sent me another surprise box without me knowing with some stuff. So this is the one we're going to try first. This is from Nova Runda, and this is their Hop Expedition Zagreb Bohemian Juicy IPA. So this is a 6.1% hazy IPA on 30 IBUs with new experimental Czech hops. So this is really cool. They got together with the Bohemian Hop Company or something, I think it was called. They at least got to, some Czech hop suppliers, it says. They got to work with to get some new experimental Czech hop varieties that are attempting to be modern and more like fruity and juicy and whatnot, trying to, do something similar to what's going on in the States. I know Slovenia has already been doing this with their Styrian breeds, Styrian Dragon, Styrian Wolf, Styrian Fox, loads of different new hop varieties. None of them has really caught on compared to the hype hops of the States and New Zealand, which like New Zealand hops are some of my favorite. But the idea of having local European hops that are really fruity as well as really nice and tropical and whatnot. So this one is hopped with the hops called Saturn, Eris, Juno, and Gaia, and I've never heard of any of them. And they say here on the back that the West Coast should move over because of these hops. So I'm guessing it's a reference to the hazy brewers of the West Coast, and that it should taste like citrus, spice, and pine. So let's check this one out. It'll be interesting. I mean, it smells juicy from here. So pours a hazy golden yellow, golden yellow, it's quite orange actually. Golden orange color, white head. White head. Let's check out the aroma. Very juicy. There's a lot of yeast character to me in this. I'm getting a lot of like apricot-y, sweet, overripe, juicy. This smells pretty much like your classic juice bomb. It kind of smells like what I'm sick of. Like drinking these recently fresh West Coast beers from awesome West Coast hoppy beer producer that makes West Coast IPAs. It's just like it gets cemented to me in stone that like for me to make and I enjoy hazies, they need to be super bright and like snappy and like kind of like the West Coast IPA, just like almost like a hazy version of a West Coast IPA, but still with some juiciness and everything. But like because this is just like really gushing sweet fruity juice. I'm getting lots of like tropical fruitiness, definitely lots of stone fruit. Loads of sweet stone fruit to this on the aroma. Like apricot-y, like peachy, a bit of sweet mango. But there's also definitely some spice, some herbal nuances to it, which is nice. It's not all just gushing juice, although there's a lot of it. Also, I can see some citrus nuances, sweet citrus, orange, tangerine notes. There's very, very sweet fruitiness for sure. It's like blind, you would not think that this is continental European hops, which is interesting. It smells good. Let's try it. Cheers. Thanks, Dan. It's a little too generic juice bomb for me. Oh yeah, this is a Class A example of why I'm just not that big fan of haze anymore. Haze to me is best when the hops really, really, really shine. And there's not like too much, like you can feel this is dry beer, but it just seems sweet because of like all the juiciness in it. Like I don't like hazy IPAs to be too juicy anymore. Like at one point I just wanted the juiciest, most overripe hazy you could get. And I really don't anymore. The more I drink hazies like this, the more I'm like, I'm just so over it. And then once in a while I have like top tier level haze and I'll drink it. And I think it's because I've drunk so much haze. So I'm at a point where if I still want to drink haze, it can only be the top tier. And it's not because I'm a snob. It's just because I'm sick of attempts that are not top tier. Because I've had so much of the best stuff and I know how good it can be. And then you try stuff that's just like a little bit like, then I'd rather drink a Pilsner because it's lower in ABV and it's going to be more refreshing and like crisp and dry. Or West Coast IPA. But if we're just talking like there's other styles I'd much rather drink these days than hazies. But not to be all negative, this is very well made hazy beer. It's juicy, it's overripe. It's definitely what you'd want if you want classic haze. I'm getting a lot of that sweet overripe mango and sweet juicy kind of stone fruit qualities. And I'd probably be hard pressed to taste that this is not some kind of American hop. There's a lot of fruitiness to it, but I think a lot of that fruitiness is also because of the yeast and the base beer. That's why it's also really intense. It's 30 IBUs and does not feel 30 IBUs. It's not that bitter. The hop flavor in there is something maybe that could give a little bit of a way of a European heritage, because there's definitely more spiciness. Not a lot, but there's definitely some. I just feel like what's most dominant here is like juiciness from yeast. But there's definitely a lot of fruitiness. A lot of fruity, like spicy nuances, like spicy stone fruity flavors. Like there's some herbal spiciness to it. There's definitely also lots of sweet tangerine orange flavors, lots of orange, and mandarin orange and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. You could fool me, and I think this would be made with American hops, 100%. So that's really cool. I don't know much about these specific hops, Saturn, Eris, Juno, and Gaia. Never heard of them, never tried them. But judging on this, I mean, they definitely have similar profiles. I wonder how they'd be if you did like really supercharged, like double dry hopping and whatnot, how they would play out. That will take some experimentation. But yeah, blindfold, I probably think this is some kind of just hazy, juicy IPA with American hops. But it also tastes very much like every other hazy IPA. Like this is just like, this could be from any brewery, really. Like it's a bit generic in that sense. It could even like it be like almost like supermarket craft. So maybe it's a bit more hoppy than that. But I can't help but think a little bit like Danish anarchist or something like that. But it's not a terrible beer at all. It's just mainly because I'm really not that fond of this kind of style anymore, especially when they're this juicy. If you love really big, juicy flavors, I think you'll really dig this. And I think it's really impressive that these hops taste as fruity as they do. But I think it's also because it's a combination of yeast and the hops. It would be fun to see these hops standing alone in like a more clean beer, like a West Coast IPA or a Pilsner, so you can really figure out what they taste like. Because often drinking hazies, you're not exactly getting the 100% true flavor of the hop, because you have the supporting cast of esters from the yeast. Whereas with the West Coast, it's bone dry, super clean. Same with Pilsners, super clean. So what you're actually tasting is the pure flavor of the hop. If I look at it objectively, if I look at it as a hazy IPA, this would be in the 80s range for sure. And I think that's also where I'm going to score it, because like it's not like I hate it. It's just not my kind of beer, not my wheelhouse anymore. Like I would drink this at a party if I was offered a can, but if they had this or a can of Angry Moose from the same brewery, their Pilsner, I would take Angry Moose. In terms of a grade, early 80s for me, like 83, maybe 82, something like that. In terms of style, maybe a little bit higher. Maybe like if it's rating as a hazy IPA, maybe 85, 86 maybe, something like that. If you guys had a chance to try Novonda's Hop Expedition Zatek, let me know what you thought of it. Thanks a ton to Dan for the beer. Again, hazies are not the biggest thing for me these days, but that's just how it is. But thanks a ton, man. It's fun to try. He sent some really cool sounding stuff. He also sent an ESB and then some crazy sounding Imperial sour beers. And I think also the first barrel-aged beers I'll ever try from Croatia. So if you guys had the Hop Expedition Zatek from Runda, let me know what you thought of it. And as always, comment, subscribe to the Facebook fan page and Twitter and Instagram. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and ring the bell for future notifications about videos. And I'm going to say cheers and see you guys in another beer review.